gavel today? I don't know. My phone works just as well. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to September 12th, 2018 Board of Trustees meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Ms. Kiss, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Abrego. Here. Governor Brown, Trustee Carney. Chairman Day.
Here.
Trustee Eisen. Here. Trustee Fagan, Trustee Farrar, Trustee Furstenberg. Trustee Fong. Here. Trustee Garcia. Trustee Hinton. Here. Trustee Campbell. Here. Trustee McGrory. Trustee Melendez de Santana. Here. Trustee Morales, Lieutenant Governor Newsom, Trustee Nyland. Here. Trustee Norton. Here. Speaker Rendon, Trustee Sebelius. Here. Trustee Steinman. Trustee Steinhauser. Trustee Taylor, Superintendent Torlakson, Chancellor White.
Here.
Chairman Day, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Kiss. This is the time in which the board hears from public speakers. In fairness to all speakers who wish to speak and to allow the board to hear from as many speakers as possible, while at the same time conducting the public business of our meetings within the time available, total time today will be 30 minutes. So therefore, speakers will have 1.5 minutes each for their remarks. A buzzer will indicate when a speaker's time ends, and I ask that speakers please yield the microphone so that the next speaker may address the board. Ms. Kiss, will you please call the speakers?
We'll begin with William Blischke, Marvin Morales, Rocky Sanchez, and Carolyn Duckett.
Good morning. I'm Bill Blischke. I'm president of CSU IRFSA. We just expanded, and we used to be IRFA. Now we're IRFSA, the Emeriti and Retired Faculty and Staff Association. And we went through a long process, had to change our constitution. It's now official, and we include all Cal State PERS retirees from the CSU. And the Chancellor's Office has really reached out to us and asked us to let them know when this is finalized so they can let all the HR people on the campuses know. They've agreed to have me meet with all of them when they meet, and you can see the updates on our website already, and we're updating our brochures and personal cards, etc. We have delineated 21 retirement opportunities for our people to be involved at their campuses, and you can find those on our website, or I have a list here, and I can give that to your secretary and you can pass it around. I just added number 22 yesterday. I met with the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Advancement, Lori Redfarn, and she wants to use our members to help evaluate system-wide scholarships. So we're going to be doing that. We have a publication called The Reporter, which comes out quarterly, and I'm obligated to write a From the President article, which I did. But I was also asked to write another article, and I wrote a review of a book. My background is sociology, higher education. There's a book by Christopher Newfield, and the major title is A Great Mistake, and we could all fill in a lot of blanks for that.
If you could summarize, please, your time's expired.
Okay, the subtitle is How We Wreck Public Universities and How We Can Fix Them. You can read my review of that or read the book. I recommend it highly. Thank you.
Rocky Sanchez, VP for Representation, CSUEU. I hail from Cal Poly Pomona. 25 plus years as an employee with the CSU. I'm talking today regarding Dominguez Hills and their labor relations manager, Ake Grow, and how he has purposely decided to misinterpret the contract and to make sure that the grievance process was not heard with integrity. He has maintained his control over that in terms of how he's dealing with appropriate administrators. This needs to stop, and we will make sure that it does stop. But I do want to warn Dominguez Hills that our eyes are on you in terms of how you're permitting this human resource, labor relations person get out of hand. It needs to stop now. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Carolyn Duckett. I relinquish my speech. I don't know if they're here or not. She's not here. Okay.
Next speaker, if your name's been called, please come forward. Any order.
Okay, we'll move on. Michael Chavez, Rich McGee, Tessie Reese, and Martin Brenner.
Hello, my name is Michael Chavez. I'm 19-year employee for CSU Stanislaus. I cede my time to the Lawson family when they arrive. Thank you.
Rich McGee, Chair Bargaining Unit 9. Chancellor White, we need your assistance. Last September 2017, the CSU and CSUU signed and agreed to our contract. We have yet to get a completed, edited, agreed upon version back from your staff. I don't know what the holdup is. I don't know where it's at, whose desk gets stuck on. We've called multiple times. We keep getting different excuses. But please, our members are begging us to have completed copies of the contract that we can pass out to them. So far, all I have is crickets from your organization. Talk to your HR people. We need a copy of the signed contract. A year is way too long. This process has never taken more than a week in the last 25 years I've been doing this. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Martin Brenner, CSUEU 9 statewide vice chair, 35 years CSU employee, graduate of California public higher education, and a lifelong California taxpayer. I'm here representing all of the above. I'm concerned with that the CSU is gaming the collective bargaining agreement by abusing their right to hire temporary status employees. This provision should only apply to positions that are funded by non-recurring grants, contracts, or special projects with specified end dates. The ability to hire temporary status employees should never be used to create a class of at-will employees who effectively lack the rights granted under the collective bargaining agreement and state and federal employment law. On my campus, it is my understanding, and at also many other CSU locations, the recruitment and hiring of temporary employees is becoming the norm rather than the exception. As reported by CSULB Human Resources, approximately 70% of new collective bargaining employees were hired into temporary positions during the last 3.5 years. The employees are routinely being told that this is now the standard hiring practice, that it essentially serves as a 4-year probationary period. This is misleading, contradicts written offer letters, and it violates both the spirit and the language of the collective bargaining agreement. Gaming the temporary hiring provision isn't a win for the CSU either. Posting positions as temporary is not an effective way to get the best possible applicant pool. As a taxpayer and product of higher education, I want the most qualified applicants to join the CSU staff. This practice degrades the quality of recruitments and the value. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tessie Reese, Unit 2 Chair from San Diego State. I'm waiting my time, and please ask that when the Lawson family gets here, that cumulative time will be allowed to her to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Cal Mason, Hector Fernandez, Joshua Boris, Sharon Elise, and Renee Beard.
Hello, Hector Fernandez. I'll be pulling my time with Cal Mason. Hello, Presidents, Trustees, and Chancellor White. I'm Hector Fernandez with San Diego State University. I have the privilege of representing 1,200 skilled trades members of the CSU that take care of our campuses every day. I wanted to bring some attention to a program which has a potential for a huge impact with the issues facing our unit. As many are aware, the campuses have grown in size of students and square footage, but we have seen a drastic difference in the staffing levels. In our unit alone, from 2010 to 2016, we've seen an increase of 1.7% compared to a 25% increase in square footage. I'm glad to say from 2016 to present, we have seen a 5% increase in staffing levels. So we're moving down the right path. However, we do face issues with salary inequalities with other agencies in private sector, staffing levels, and the huge deferred maintenance that we're all aware of. In our contract, we have a program that allows for apprenticeships in the system. This program has been working for many years now, and actually at its peak reached about 12 to 15 apprentices on our campuses. During this time, we're actually currently at about 9. We've faced issues with funding for the apprenticeship programs in the past, and as of lately, I would like to thank Vi San Juan and her department being instrumental in kind of increasing our numbers. We've been able to work with some of the funding from capital projects to increase some of the staffing levels. As of current, again, we're at 9. By the end of the year, we're predicting to be close to about 15 again. This program, it allows the opportunity for many people an avenue to get educated and create a trade that is on a downward turn. As many are aware, the skilled trades industry right now is facing about a 52% reduction in the next 5 to 10 years from people retiring, and we have nobody to fill those spots. So this opportunity, again, being an institution that is, based upon educating and graduating productive citizens into society, this allows many people an opportunity who may not look at that avenue of education through a 4-year university for us to actually increase, our staffing levels and offer those opportunities. And I want to take an opportunity.
If you could summarize, please.
Yeah, I was pulling with Cal Mason, sorry.
Okay, sir.
Anthony here is actually the electrician apprentice right here at the Chancellor's office. He comes from a family that has a lot of custodial in the CSU and kind of predicted that would be his path. When he came here, he was actually very instrumental in wanting to learn and showing that he wanted to actually progress through. And with that, we've had the capability to actually bring him on as an apprentice, learn from the existing electricians here while we're in the middle of a huge remodel. So he actually has the capability to really learn these skills and give him a path to actually, making it more productive in society and a better lifestyle for him. When he graduates this apprenticeship program, he's looking at probably tripling his pay from where he was at as a custodian here. So I come to bring this attention to everybody with the hopes that we can continue to look at efforts to fund these programs, especially with the presidents. When we get funding on these campuses with the deferred maintenance program, I'd love to sit down and discuss, how we can look at, what the payback period is compared to hiring apprentices, compared to always looking at a journey level person, and what that'll bring to the university as far as the benefits to look at those staffing levels and the deferred maintenance problems. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Anthony Pineda. I am the electrical apprentice here at the Chancellor's office, and I just want to say thank you. I just want to thank everyone for this opportunity. It does mean the world to me and my family, and thank you guys again.
Next speakers, please, in any order.
Associate Vice President and Co-Chair of the Council for Affirmative Action for CFA. I am here today to talk to you about how you treated the mother of a murdered student at your meeting in July. Frederick Douglass said in 1881, if a crime is committed and the criminal not known, a suspicious-looking colored man is sure to have been seen in the neighborhood. If an unarmed colored man is shot down and dies in his tracks, a jury doesn't hesitate to find the murdered man the real criminal and the murderer innocent. Given this, we're not surprised that when David Josiah Lawson's mother came to you to express her grief and ask for support, she was treated more as a criminal than righteous grieving mother. As Black people are criminalized, surveilled, and subjected to menacing throughout our society, whether in the park, having a barbecue, napping in the lounge of their college dorms, or mothers watching their children play, or a Black mother coming to the board of trustees. In this new Jim Crow system of racism, just being Black is enough to make whites fearful, enough to warrant police action. You can see what I'm talking about in the screenshot given to you, taken from that board of trustees meeting. The American color line is visible. Whites afforded the luxury of being taken at face value, Blacks surveilled and even menaced. As you see, the officer had his hand hovered over his weapon. Charmaine Lawson came to you because her son was murdered. She had entrusted him to you for an education. She had expected him to survive that experience. She did not expect to be menaced by the police when she came to you. Surely you sympathize with her. Just as assuredly, she deserves more than that, as David Josiah Lawson deserves, justice. So what can you do? In CFA, we're learning to face up to racism, take it on when it occurs. You need to do that too. Start by recognizing racism is systemic. Commit yourselves to anti-racism. We can help. This work belongs to all of us, cannot be outsourced to a single expert or an office. You cannot ignore problems away, as Board Chair Day appears to do in his Union Tribune interview, when he reveals he knows nothing about student safety on campus, and when asked about Humboldt, only says that it is remote and has some challenges with interactions between on and off campus. What happened to David Josiah Lawson was more than a mere interaction and deserves to be remembered and addressed. David Josiah Lawson lived a short life that deserves our honor and recognition. It is not too late to get to know him, to stand for him, to seek justice. You can start today. Acknowledge racism and the treatment Charmaine Lawson received, clearly state that it was wrong, render an apology, and assure her of your support as she seeks justice in the homicide of David Josiah Lawson. We are waiting for Black Lives to Matter.
Hello, my name is Renee Bird, and I am an assistant professor at Humboldt State University. I was hired 5 years ago to launch a new program in criminology and justice studies. Josiah Lawson was a major in that program. Josiah should be in one of our classrooms right now, learning to think critically about violence, about the anti-Blackness at the foundation of our criminal punishment system, and about the possibilities for transforming our society. Instead, he fell victim to himself to senseless violence. Josiah Lawson's life matters. Josiah, like most of our students, came to Humboldt from hundreds of miles away, far from home, from his family and community. Going far away from home can be an incredibly positive thing. Meeting new people, encountering new ideas, broadening one's horizons. Our students come from cities to an astonishingly beautiful and profoundly isolated rural area. They also come and they experience culture shock and hostility. To navigate that at its most basic, HSU needs to ensure their safety and provide carefully thought through institutional support that facilitates their well-being and a sense of belonging. We must make sure that our students have housing, employment, and safety when they do things even as routine as visit the grocery store. The CSU system must provide more support to HSU so that it can transform itself and the local region. President Rossbacher must step up, learn from new people, and take a more active role. You need to pay attention to how Black people's locations differ from those of white people, especially when it comes to policing and inclusion. Let me give you an example. You recently gave 4 years' worth of the membership rosters of several Black student organizations to the Arcata Police Department. Students were simply notified in an email that their names and contact information were given over, ostensibly to investigate Josiah's murder. This is incredibly, incredibly problematic. You must begin to think of safety through a racial justice lens. That will require study on your parts. I am here to tell you that you have work to do. As leaders in the CSU, you must grapple with the contradictions of a system that holds police out as the primary route for protection and addressing violence, even as they themselves are perpetrators of violence against marginalized folks. The parents of Black students have to worry every time their kids leave the house, let alone when they travel hundreds of miles away to get an education. Josiah deserved to be able to come to Humboldt and read books, encounter new ideas, and be safe doing that. Josiah's life matters. Talk with Black parents, students, and their communities. This can't be outsourced to one chief diversity officer. Talk with Black academics who study these issues. We're right here in the CSU. You'll learn a lot. It's time for you to take racism seriously and do the real work in yourselves to make an education truly possible for our students. In other words, it's time for you to show us that Josiah's life matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Joshua Boris, Antoinette Sadler, and James Thomas, please. Next speakers, please, in any order. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Thank you so much, everyone, for allowing me to speak. And I just wanted to give a quick acknowledgement and thank you for all the work that you all do as this body. I know that it's not an easy effort to lead this great institution that is the CSU, but I just want to express my thanks. My name is Josh Ryan Borjas. I am the ASI President and CEO for Cal State Fulton. Go Titans. I just wanted to come here to communicate more to you all with the students and the concerns that we've been hearing about the 3% increase that we received this past summer. I come to you not in providing solutions as I'm aware, and in this new role, I'm still learning in what seems to be interactions with students and how to lead larger institutions. But what I can say is that I've been hearing students' concerns about at least the perception of what this increase has had. We have students that are going hungry on our campuses. 46.1% of those students are food insecure, and 1 in 12 experience some form of housing insecurity. And although I want the best for my institution, and I know I have the best president inside CSU, I think for the principle of really investing in our students and providing that strong leadership and that foundation for years to come, not only do we have to invest in our higher administration, but we also have to invest in those students, which we are 500,000 strong in this system. So I come to you all in expressing these concerns as students, as there have been some in my peers of other ASI presidents, but as well as students that are just commuting, where why are we fighting for tuition and then have to continuously fight for these things? Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is James Thomas. I'm the pastor of Living Word Community Church in Sherman Oaks and also a lecturer at Cal State LA. I'm deeply concerned about how we are attending to the well-being of students, especially Black students like Josiah, who responded to the invitation to go to CSU, but it now seems that the well-being of Blacks, their families, and those who advocate for them are not a priority. As a parent, there isn't anything more important than safety. It trumps academic ranking. It's more important than the school's job placement or graduation rates. Josiah Lawson was murdered while enjoying normative Black culture. When CSU fails to promote, develop, and celebrate Black cultural norms, the consequences are being killed, living, driving, walking, sleeping, and protesting while Black. If you invite us to your institution, you must allow us to be Black. That means the culture of the institution has to change to make space for us. You need to be ready for the students you recruit, and you're not. It means working openly with students, parents, community leaders, pastors, and faculty. We need discussions about safety among us, not profile anyone, not criminalizing folks, but to make students feel healthy and whole. Support, sustain, and celebrate. That is the framework around which we must create space for the young Black students that you're recruiting to your campus. Thank you.
Edmund Hakobian, Benjamin Deutsch, Brian Wang, Anthony Lawson, and Charmaine Michelle Lawson.
Good morning. My name is Brian Wong. I'm a master's student of political science at Cal State University, Long Beach, where I work as a graduate assistant. The California State University system employs over 9,000 teaching assistants, graduate assistants, and instructional student assistants. All of these student workers are among the most accomplished and hardest working individuals associated with the CSU system. Juggling a full load of upper division and graduate level courses, these students work tirelessly to teach their own courses, assist the faculty with their oversized classes, grade papers and exams, and tutor undergraduates. The Cal State system would not function without the necessary labor of these highly skilled and experienced academic student employees, working hard to impart their knowledge upon the tens of thousands of students lucky enough to interact with them. Yet these individuals who have given so much to the CSU and who the CSU benefits so much from are under some of the most precarious conditions in the state. Nearly all are hired semester by semester, limiting their ability to count on future earnings. Many cannot rely on steady minimum hours week to week, further increasing the unpredictability of their wages and making budgeting almost impossible. Almost no one can expect to receive the benefits other comparable schools give their academic student employees. Tuition is rarely waived, and in fact, employment is often predicated on the enrollment in mandatory training classes. In other words, many of us are forced to pay for our own training. The vast majority earn far less than $1,000 in wages per month. Meager income, indeed, when expenses include rising tuition, skyrocketing rents, the lack of truly affordable health care, food, and transit. This forces us to search for extra work off campus, deprioritizing our own studies and hurting our graduation rates. Among our membership exist far too many examples of exemplary individuals living in abject poverty, sleeping in their cars the night before teaching a lab, grading papers with no food on the table, tutoring fellow students while lacking their own health care. This is unacceptable. All of these mentioned problems have concrete resolutions on the table currently proposed by the union representing these student workers. As I speak, a team of skilled lawyers and negotiators from the CSU is in Fresno at the current bargaining session, telling us student workers why what we are asking for is untenable. Well, I say to everyone present, what is no longer tenable is the status quo. UAW Local 4123 stands ready to end the cycle of poverty and desolation for our best and brightest. The stage is set, the players are ready. What the CSU lacks is the political will to do what is right. I implore you to use your power as the Board of Trustees of the CSU to instruct your bargaining team to accept the fair and economically necessary contract we are fighting for.
Good morning. My name is Benjamin Deutsch. I'm the financial officer for UAW 4123. I'm also a graduate student at CSU Long Beach in physics. You've heard my fellow graduate student talk to you today about how your economic policies here shape the lives of employees who work and study at the CSU, as well as their respective families. I, however, am here to speak to you about the overall attitude of the campuses with their students, especially those who have immigrated to study at these institutions, and in most cases, those of underrepresented groups. There have been a distressing number of serious issues raised since we have heard Chancellor White declare the campuses that make up the CSU sanctuary campuses. We have had raids and arrests made on the very campus existing just a few miles from here. The arresting officer, Ivan Sanchez, was perhaps not made aware of the sentiments of this board. This, however, cost the deported 53-year-old Jose Alvarez his family, security, and rights of free association. There have been racially motivated attacks on students across the 23 campuses within the last year, such as the incredibly sad loss of Josiah Lawson at Humboldt State. Included into this are reports of profiling consistent with stop and frisk policies found across the country. The president of this very union, a 28-year-old Indian immigrant, was accosted hardly a few days ago by campus police at CSU Stanislaus, who asked repeatedly to see his ID while on campus and interrogated him. Now, I'm a citizen, and I could not imagine the fear and anxiety cultivated in this kind of environment for immigrants on these campuses. And personally, I'm ashamed on your behalf that this attitude has gone unchecked and with little oversight. I was born in El Paso, Texas, a border town which prides itself in its shared binational identity. It is here, however, I have also seen in person the tent cities filled with children marching in 100-degree heat of the Chihuahuan Desert. I grew up in San Diego, another border town, where one of my closest friends and his family were undocumented immigrants fleeing the drug violence in Mexico. I am now at CSU Long Beach, where there exists a number of DACA students who live and incredibly study for their future careers, all under the pressure of these unstable and irrational times. As I look at this board, I look at not university administration, just to nod in benign agreeance of these atrocities, but to community leaders to offer change, to offer, without malicious intent, security and safety to the students who pridefully attend your individual campuses. I'm asking for CSU to fulfill its promise of diversity and inclusion it so often quotes. I'm asking for CSU to fulfill its, We as UAW 4123 on behalf of your students are asking for a partnership with the administration to make CSU a safe space for immigrants, men and women of color, and for the most vulnerable among us. As we speak, we are proposing contract language of a joint task force for the understanding of the dynamic alterations made to immigration laws and policies.
If you could summarize, please. Your time's expired.
Yep. The policies under the current presidential administration. We hope the CSU will join hands with the union and will help protect everyone in the CSU community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I ask that everyone gives me their undivided attention. Take a few moments to listen to my son's story. Good morning, California State University, Office of the Chancellor and the Board of Trustees. California Faculty Association, I appreciate you standing here with me in the pursuit of justice for my beloved DJ. My name is Charmaine Michelle Lawson, mother of David Josiah Lawson. My son was a student at Humboldt State University. My son was 19 years old when he was viciously murdered on April 15th at an off-campus party in Arcata. I'm here to address the trustees and Dr. Rossbacher, the president of HSU. DJ and our family trusted you with his life, and you failed him and many more students before him. What are you doing to implement changes between the CSU system? Citizens and my family has expressed deep concerns, demanding that you act immediately on the behalf of students of color. We demand that you stop recruiting students of color immediately at Humboldt State University. We demand parents and safety checklists as part of the recruitment and orientation process. What are the procedures and training requires for university police when involved in an off-campus event related to students? I'm also using my son Anthony's minutes. Has Arcata updated their policies and their very apparent failure to protect students? What are the procedures you have to assist and help students and their families regarding victims of violent crimes? Transparency regarding racial motivated and microaggression, including violence on campus and off campus. A safe environment for students of color to experience positive learning. Hire more professors who students of color identify with in leadership and teaching roles. University must work to end the discrimination throughout the CSU system. Humboldt County is not a welcoming place for students of color. March 6, 2018, the California Supreme Court ruled that public colleges and universities have the duty to protect their students from potential violence. It's going to be 15 months on Saturday, September 15th, since I lost my son. His murder still remained unsolved. There is a systematic racism in Humboldt County that has been swept underneath the rug by Humboldt State University and the Arcata Police Department for decades. The cover-up and conspiracy stops here. Students of color report incidents, discrimination, attacks on campus, off campus, and nothing is done about it. My son was smart. My son was compassionate. He was given, ambitious, a leader. He was driven to succeed. My beloved son was destined for greatness. As a single parent and an immigrant, I taught my children the importance of a good education. DJ set his sights on higher learning when he entered Humboldt State University fall of 2015. He was so excited to be heading off to college. A young African-American young man. He was a young African-American young man. He thrived to excel at everything that he do. DJ was a big brother to Anthony, to Chloe, a great grandson, a nephew, a cousin, a friend. But most importantly, he was my son. The Board of Trustees and Dr. Lisa Rossbacher have to be held accountable for not protecting my baby boy. As parents, we sacrifice financially to send our children off to college because we want them to succeed as future leaders. This institution failed our family. Humboldt State University failed to protect others before him. Corey Clark, Virgil Payne, Derek Rosen was stabbed at an off-campus party back in 1997. Tano was stabbed in 2007, also a HSU student. The Arcata Police Department and Humboldt State University has shown hate bias towards students of color. HSU knew the climate of which my son was entering in, and they did not prepare us for such changes. This was an intentional death trap for my son DJ and for our family. And for that, I call for the resignation of Dr. Lisa Rossbacher. I look forward to hearing from you, Board of Trustees. Thank you for the opportunity, Chancellor White. But I have one more thing to say. Adam Day, I listened to an interview when you mentioned most first-time students may not go to Humboldt due to financial and emotional reasons. I disagree with you. They will not go to Humboldt because it's not safe for them. You also mentioned that the CSU system is safe and nothing out of the ordinary. I also disagree with you. My son was murdered, and his murdered 15 months, still unsolved. You mentioned that police and university is working together, maybe throughout some of the CSU campuses, but definitely not Humboldt State University. Lastly, you mentioned that you have not been to Humboldt since you've been on the board within the last 4 years. I am requesting to accompany you to Humboldt this year, along with any one of these members, California Faculty Association members standing behind me. You want to go to Humboldt to talk about mental health. I agree with you, but you need to sit down and speak to the students of color that are experiencing, like I said, discrimination. A president who is not welcoming, a president who is cold, who shows no compassion, no empathy. I'm still waiting for her to call me over 4 months. The last time I spoke with Dr. Lisa Rossbacher, I will call you once I speak to Karen Deemer, the city manager, and I will get back with you. She still have not called me. I'm still waiting on that phone call. My son deserves justice. Our family deserves justice. And she needs to step it up or she needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to all speakers for being here today. We appreciate your time, Chairman Day. That concludes public comment.
Just press the button.
Okay, I'm Antoinette. I'm a student at Cal State LA. Cavino knows me. I'm here to speak on behalf of my experience as a student, but not just a student, but also a family member of a victim of white supremacy. And so when I hear Charmaine get up here and speak, I see my own mama. My brother was killed by police. And so I'm here to talk about the militarization of the CSU system, the police present in the CSU system, and the lack of support from administration for families like ours, and how she's been saying students of color, and in particular Black students at Cal State LA. And so we've time and time have conversations with Cavino. You have failed students time and time again. When I talk about the lack of support from administration, I just want to give a quick story how sometimes y'all talk about hand in hand and having a relationship with us as administration and trying to make that relationship better. I can recall one administration that you have is Octavio, which is the vice provost. And last year when my brother was killed by police, I went to Octavio because folks were saying that was someone I can go to in administration that I could trust. I've cried my eyes out to Octavio. And last year, there was an event, an anti-immigration event on campus, and when I went to have a one-on-one conversation with Octavio, he felt the need, after knowing my story, knowing after how I'm triggered in police presence, to bring police out him with him, next to him, and have a one-on-one conversation in the hallway with me as a student after I've cried my eyes out, after I've confided to him, after I've let him know the fear that I have in police, because it prior to my brother and after. When I talk about the militarization, a lot of campuses, someone was saying that they don't have a big police presence. Cal State LA has campus security. We have Metro Police. We have Alhambra Police. We have Campus Police. We have Sheriff Police. I don't understand why we need five pieces of security on campus for who? This is a campus where you guys pride yourself in diversity. It's a campus of over 90% students of color, which we know that ain't true because the black student population is only 3%. And so how she was saying, these students are coming into these campuses not having any guidance, not understanding the climate change that they're coming into, no resources provided. When this happened at HSU, was there any mental health offered, any counseling offered? We see at Cal State LA, under Trump administration, there's nothing happening. You send out, excuse my language, bullshit emails about undocumented students and what you gonna do to support them, suggesting that they go renew their DACA, but you're not providing the resources for them to do so. You're not providing like nothing. We've given a list of demands. Last semester, they came back with us with the possibles, the maybes, and the impossibles. The first thing on the impossible list was they would never even talk about removing, defunding, or anything when it came to any type of policing on campus. And this is something that we have time again talk about is what we fear on campus the most. When we want to have a simple conversation with Covino, we can't even enter administration office without police coming in full riot gear to block every single entrance to administration office. We're students. Y'all get paid by us. Y'all get paid by us. And I say that because I also want to talk about how we just went up as SQE and CFA to April 4th in Sacramento. We fought against the tuition increase. We fought for more state funding. And the first thing y'all did with that state funding was get a raise and put money in your pocket. While we still have 1 in 10 students starving, we still have 1 in 5 students that are homeless.
Antoinette, if you could please summarize.
Y'all bullshit. That's my summary. Thank you to all the public speakers.
No, I'm not done. We
Ms.
talk
Sadler,
about y'all
your
don't give
time has
undivided
expired.
attention
We're
to
gonna
her
ask that you
story.
please
We
seat
have
the
people
mic.
over here sleeping while she's talking. Y'all don't understand. If we come shut this whole building down, is that what y'all want us to do? Do y'all want us to shut the whole building down? Because eventually it's going to lead to that until y'all hear what it is that we have to say, not just hear, but y'all take action on what it is that we're saying. We're giving demands, and you have yet to meet any one of those demands. Any of them. You have yet to acknowledge it. The fact that as the president of HSU and you have not called Charmaine as a mother of your student, y'all take pride in safety. Y'all want to have a relationship with police on campus to keep your students safe, but you can't even give a simple phone call to a grieving parent who has lost her child at your university. A child of HSU. We have cases of Naeem Reese who have been falsely targeted at Cal State LA. Did administration ever once speak out and support him? No, he's still facing charges protecting students of Cal State LA. Have y'all ever stepped up and supported him in what it is he's going through as a black man who was falsely accused of being another black man with dreads? So because he's a black man with dreads, he automatically got targeted as the victim. Have y'all spoke out and supported? And we keep asking y'all, you don't say anything. Y'all need to be held accountable.
Chairman Day, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. Okay, on behalf of the board, I would like to thank all of the speakers, especially Ms. Lawson, and for bringing your family and friends. The board shares your sympathy for your loss. I will accept your invitation. I have not visited Humboldt since I've been on this board, but I have been on the campus before. I will be planning to visit up there, and I'd be happy to meet with you. I look forward to that visit. We do share your grief, and we hope the best for the investigation in the case. We thank you all for taking your time being here today. Okay. So before I begin my report, I would like to welcome our newest student trustee, Juan Garcia. Trustee Garcia is a third-year student at Cal Poly Pomona, where he is pursuing a bachelor's degree in political science. Juan, I would like to take a few moments to hear some words of introduction from you, please.
Well, thank you, Chairman Day, for the introduction. And I really want to thank all the members of the board and the presidents and the staff for having been so welcoming these past few days. And I look forward to working with you all. But most of all, I'm just eager to learn from you all, to learn how to ask those difficult questions, make those tough decisions to ultimately improve our university system. I hope that the perspective that I can bring to the board proves useful in making our system better. And I really, really look forward to serving alongside you all. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, welcome. We're thrilled to have you join us.
Thank you so much.
So Juan and Emily represent especially the start of a new academic year, what is, I think, one of my favorite times of the year. It's a time of fresh starts and new beginnings. On our 23 campuses, returning students are settling in, while new students are finding their way. This is an exciting time, but it also can be very stressful. For many students, it is their first time away from home. For others, the process of juggling classes, employment, and family might be overwhelming. Mental health is an important part of the transition to the college experience. And Cal State campuses are reaching out to new students to let them know that help is available if needed. Awareness and training is part of the student experience from day one. Campuses like Cal State San Marcos and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo provide mental health programming and suicide prevention services for incoming students. These services connect students to resources, reminding them that they are not alone, that there are people on campus to help them through whatever they might be facing in the coming years. And so I encourage all students who are feeling a little lost, anxious, or overwhelmed to take full advantage of the resources on your campus. Indeed, while the transition to college can be a nerve-wracking time, students and their families should take comfort and pride in knowing that they are headed to universities that are national leaders in student success. You see, the start of the new academic year also brings fresh rankings, and I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to quote #humblebrag, as my Twitter followers would say. It's coming along nicely, by the way, if you remember my first report. It is important to note that not all rankings are created equal. Many of the exclusive rankings are exactly that. They focus on how many students colleges exclude. That's not what we're about at the CSU. Washington Monthly takes a different approach. They look at how universities are serving the public good and providing students with opportunities to increase social mobility. Naturally, the Cal State excelled. 21 campuses were recognized, and Washington Monthly placed San Bernardino, Stanislaus, Bakersfield, Los Angeles, Sacramento, Dominguez Hills, and Northridge among the top 25 master's institutions in the nation. Fresno State was also ranked as a top 25 national university, right up there alongside universities like Princeton, Yale, Harvard, and Stanford. Cal State campuses also dominated a very different type of award, the #MyTopCollege social media challenge. Cal State Fullerton won the national competition for the 5th year in a row. I know Fran was busy there, along with Long Beach, Northridge, Chico, and Fresno, all placing in the top 10. Alumni, students, staff, and faculty use the hashtag to share the life-changing impact of the CSU. And while, yes, I did follow all of the updates on my Twitter feed, and I tried to like all of them, like a parent of 23 children, I didn't play favorites. One of the hundreds of CSU posts came from alum Junlee Merwin. Junlee said, "As a teen mother, foster youth, and student, I found Cal State Fullerton to be #MyTopCollege. I owe many thanks to CSU Fullerton for saving my education, helping me be a better mom, and shaping me to be the motivated individual I am now." Stories like Junlee's are a testament to the transformational power of a CSU education. So too are the stories of resolve, achievement, and bright futures that we heard yesterday from the 23 winners of the CSU Trustees Award. It was a true honor for me to serve on the awards committee along with representatives of CSSA, Alumni Council, as well as our esteemed trustee emeritus, Ali Razi. And I would like to once again congratulate all of the awardees on such outstanding achievements, both in and out of the classroom. And so, as we head into the fall term, I encourage all of us, students, faculty, staff, alumni, administrators, and trustees, to embrace this new beginning and ensure a successful and transformational academic year. I would now like to turn it over to Chancellor White for his report. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Adam. And as I reflect on your comments and as the new year begins, new academic year, I'm reminded that it takes all of us on every campus, in every department, facility, and lecture hall to ensure that every Cal State student has the opportunity to attend, to achieve, and to complete their degree in a timely fashion. A few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of welcoming the new first-year students at Dominguez Hills with President Parham. I found myself congratulating parents and families, thanking staff, faculty, administrators, and the many ongoing students who are also helping the new students get settled. And all told, experience today nearly as celebratory as commencement. If you've not yet had a chance to visit a Cal State campus on Student Move-In Day, I highly encourage you to do so. There you will see firsthand the 6-decade commitment we have had to genuine, meaningful access to our amazing university. At Dominguez Hills, I was fortunate to meet Melissa, her mom and baby sister. Melissa, who grew up in San Diego, is a first-generation college student. Her mom, who spoke primarily Spanish, was beaming with pride for Melissa. But I could tell, like any parent, that she was also nervous and sentimental. I'm sure she was thinking to herself, as all parents do when they drop their kids off to college, where in the heck did the past 18 or so years go? It was a pleasure to meet Melissa and help her move a few boxes into her campus dorm. Her drive and her focus on academic and career goals are indeed inspiring. And her story of growing up as an immigrant kid where the road to college was an unknown, well, that story is very personal for me, as you know. Indeed, the stories of student achievement and success, Melissa at Dominguez Hills, the 23 Trustee Award Scholars we celebrated yesterday, they and their stories are special, but as we know, not unique to the California State University. Across all 23 campuses, over 100,000 students, many first in their families to do so, are starting a new academic year. I do wish them the best in the year ahead, and we, of course, must continue to do everything we can as the leaders of this university to ensure that they have the resources, the services, and the support necessary to succeed from move-in day to commencement. I wish to express gratitude to every California State University employee, from faculty members to facilities manager, from academic advisor to the audit assistant. We all play a key role in ensuring student achievement, including the completion of a high-quality degree and preparation for a lifetime of success. Indeed, this past June, we celebrated the largest graduating class in our university's history. And this month, we celebrated the largest first-year class also in the university's history. Those two facts and achievements are no coincidence. It's proof positive of our steadfast commitment to our mission, and I can't wait to celebrate next year's largest graduating class. Now, before I turn it back to Chairman Day, I'd like to take a moment to thank Vice Chancellor of Human Resources, Melissa Barden, for her hard work on behalf of the California State University. Melissa will be leaving the university at the end of the month, and while our time as colleagues was short, I greatly appreciate all of her efforts, insight, guidance, and collegiality. In a very collaborative fashion, she garnered substantive input from across the system on the HR function and created a roadmap that we will now follow in the next few years to bring more value to the CSU. Thank you, Melissa, and we wish you the very best. Yesterday, I discussed our transition needs with the Board of Trustees. Following that conversation, along with multiple conversations with a range of stakeholders in human resources, I'm pleased to introduce Evelyn Nazario, who will become the Vice Chancellor for Human Resources on October 1. And Evelyn is here. Would you please stand so we may greet you, Evelyn? Evelyn has been in Human Resources at Cal State University for the past decade, currently serving as the Associate Vice Chancellor in Human Resources. She is uniquely qualified to address the theme that emerged in all of the conversations I just alluded to, and that is to keep the momentum going, to stay focused on the roadmap that emerged from that analysis, really, which is a SWOT analysis of human resources and how we can be better in the years ahead. So we look forward to your leadership, Evelyn, and we welcome you into the position. Chairman Day, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chancellor. Melissa, on behalf of the board, you have our thanks and gratitude for your service to the CSU, and we wish you all the best. And Evelyn, we wish you congratulations on the new position. Look forward to working with you. Now I'd like to move to the report of the Academic Senate. Catherine Nelson.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I don't know about the rest of you, but after the raw emotion we just saw, I'm finding that a very, very difficult act to follow, but I will do my best. It is my pleasure to be here and update you on all things ASCSU. Perhaps the theme for the day should be listen. First of all, to start, every August our Extended Executive Committee meets with the Chancellor and the CO leadership team and the CSSA leadership and student trustees to build relationships, share priorities, and discuss the challenges facing us. This year's retreat was organized around the theme Student Success, centering the student learning experience. We used the ASCSU white paper on student success to frame the discussion. The goal to center the student learning experience in the classroom in our conversations about student success, and try to find one specific goal that we might pursue together so we can actually say we are working together on something. We didn't quite end up with that specific goal, but we did have a robust conversation and identified several general areas where we can potentially agree. I personally came away from the retreat with two observations. First, to a person, everybody in that room has a profound commitment to student success, even if we don't always agree on the best way to get there. Second, faculty are committed to ongoing critical evaluation of CSU initiatives to support student success, because we need to make sure that academic quality remains a central focus of the institution's efforts in that direction. We had our first plenary meeting last week. We spent it setting priorities, beginning work on resolutions, and receiving updates from our partners in shared governance about the issues likely to occupy us as we make our way through the coming academic year. We reviewed or acted upon two resolutions. First, we approved by acclamation a commendation for Eric Forbes, recently retired Assistant Vice Chancellor, Student Academic Support, commending him for his long tenure of outstanding service and accomplishments in the CSU. We also had a first reading of a resolution observing the 20th anniversary of the CSU Center for Community Engagement that encourages the board, chancellor, campus presidents, and academic senates to carry out an appropriate observation of that anniversary that highlights and showcases 20 years of student success efforts in service learning and community engagement. We elected the Faculty Trustee Recommending Committee that selects a pool of candidates from which the ASCSU chooses a minimum of 2 names to send forward to the governor as our nominees for faculty trustee. The governor does make the final selection. We don't quite have the status of the Alumni Association in that regard. And we are in conversation with our CFA colleagues about an unconscious bias workshop for the ASCSU, and we continue our conversation about shared governance that emerged last year out of the controversy about what are now referred to colloquially as the EOs. Our standing committees continue their work to provide input on administrative initiatives, develop policy proposals, and monitor the many factors that determine the degree to which the faculty are able to successfully deliver on the academic mission of the university. Many topics on their agendas reflect the faculty perspective on current conversations in the CSU about equity, transfer, shared governance, tenure density, budget, academic preparation, and other topics. So what else is on our mind? If you listen very, very carefully to the comments of senators as they responded to presentations from Chancellor White, Executive Vice Chancellor Blanchard, and our other guests, you can't help but discover not only what's on our minds, but also the depth of knowledge my colleagues have about the issues facing the CSU and the dedication and commitment they have to shared governance and ensuring that faculty expertise guides the framing and delivery of our academic mission. To give you just a few examples of the comments that were raised. In commenting on the significance of the faculty role in student success, colleagues raised the issue of tenure density, opportunities for permanent employment for contingent faculty, the importance of faculty advising, especially to first-generation students, and mandatory advising as a tool to improve students' chances for completion of their degree and to help develop the mentor relationship between faculty and students. In the area of equity, colleagues mentioned meeting the needs of our non-binary, older, and military veteran students as an important focus of student support efforts. The male gender gap in attendance and completion was raised, as was cultural competence as a hallmark of the CSU. In the area of the budget, multi-year budgeting, capital needs, and the importance of maintaining resources for graduate programs were suggested. Emphasis was also placed on the importance of using new resources, that $25 million we all keep talking about, for faculty hiring on new positions to increase tenure density. Like it or not, Chancellor White, tenure density is a common measure used in research, and the ratio of permanence to impermanence in that measure tells us something about the commitment of the institution to developing the kind of faculty workforce most capable of ensuring student success. In conclusion, I come away from my first ASCSU plenary chair, my first ASCSU plenary as chair, somewhat worse for the wear, but also with a renewed sense of awe at my faculty colleagues' fierce commitment to our students and to this institution. To paraphrase a colleague who was discussing shared governance during our conversations last week, listen carefully enough and you will understand the depth of feeling and commitment expressed here, just as you heard expressed in this room a few minutes ago. Appreciate that commitment. Take advantage of our expertise. Listen to those faculty and students and community at Humboldt State. Listen to what they are saying to you. An unexpected source at dinner last night distilled everything I was trying to say into 2 sentences. Again, to paraphrase, faculty are the guardians of a central aspect of the legacy of the CSU, its curriculum. When faculty push back on executive orders or anything else, it makes the institution stronger by holding it to a higher standard of conversation and debate. And we can always use conversation and debate, especially when things get rough. I couldn't agree more. Academic quality means in part that we have very high expectations for our students. We should expect no less of ourselves. Thank you. Chair Day, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chair Nelson. I'd now like to hear the report of the CSSA. Mia K. Janis, please present.
Good afternoon, Chair Day, Chancellor White, trustees, and fellow members of the CSU family. First, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you who participated in this year's CS Unity Conference hosted by CSSA. Last month, students from across the CSU had the opportunity to learn about and actively engage with system-wide issues, leaders, and stakeholders that provided invaluable insights into the direction of the CSU. We are grateful to the leaders who joined us for our advocacy conversations and offer our continued partnership to you in addressing student issues. This year, the CSSA Board of Directors has identified 3 key areas that will inform our work of pursuing forward-thinking higher education policies and strategies. As a whole, ensuring an affordable, equitable, and holistic educational experience that promotes student success and well-being is the priority for our students. In the process of developing these priorities, our executive committee engaged student leaders on all 23 campuses through numerous points of deliberation and discussion over the summer months, and culminated this year's policy agenda, which we are proud to share with all of you. The policy priorities of this year's CSSA Board of Directors are not dissimilar from the ones that we saw last year, which to us reflects the persistent nature of the issues CSU students are facing and the hard work we all must undertake in improving these conditions. The issues CSU students are grappling with are broad and far-reaching, but also impact certain communities of students more than others, which is why we are also focused as an organization on advocating for equitable solutions that meets the needs of our most vulnerable students in the following 3 areas. 1, enable access to housing, food, and wellness resources that promote overall student health and safety. 2, ensure that the CSU is accessible, affordable, and sustainable. And 3, to ensure the academic success and holistic educational experience of all students. I like to call it educational experience or experiential education, as some might say. The reality is that despite additional attention being placed on the health, wellness, and safety of CSU students, the basic needs of many of our students are still not being met. We know more today about the scale and nature of these issues and acknowledge that the solutions are complex. However, we believe that there are very tangible ways that we can address some of these challenges. And one of those ways is through additional funding dedicated exclusively to addressing students' basic needs. Another reality is that many students are struggling to afford their college education. We know that despite the majority of CSU students not paying for tuition as recipients of financial aid, half of CSU graduates are taking on significant student debt, and that the burden of the debt is borne disproportionately by low-income students, many of those same students who are not paying tuition fees. The growth in non-tuition costs is far outpacing the purchasing power of available financial aid, and our students need solutions that preserve and increase financial aid. Additionally, the need for more sustainable funding agreement between the state and the CSU is absolutely critical. For far too long, students, through volatile and ever-increasing tuition increases, have been left financially responsible for covering the growing costs to operate the institution. Due to this reality, students need to be actively engaged in the deliberations of funding agreements. Students need to see protections on tuition increases so that there isn't the uncertain burden placed on students every year. Students also need certainty that tuition increases are not going to compensatory salary increases, mandatory cost increases, and maintenance of our infrastructure, things that are all absolutely the responsibility of the state of California. An agreement like this would be bold and unique, and that is what the CSU is. And that is what the state of California strives to be. We can do this, and frankly, the millions of future students that the CSU seeks to serve are counting on us to no longer kick the can down the road, but to address this problem now. The last reality is that despite the additional focus placed on graduating more students and reducing time to degree, all boats have risen as similar rates indicating that there are still opportunity gaps for low-income students, underrepresented students of color, and first-generation students to achieve at the same rates as their peers. Ultimately, we know that all of these issues are interconnected, and it is critical that the support structures for students ensure positive mental and physical well-being, ensure that they have the financial means to pursue their education fully, and ensure that all CSU students have a chance to succeed. The policy agenda goals our students have identified are not just our isolated goals. We know from our many conversations with stakeholders, board members, administrators, staff, faculty, that we have shared goals. Of course, some of us may have additional goals alongside the ones identified by students, but we know that these goals are truly shared among all of us. We are, all of us, more alike than we are different, in who we hope to help, and what we think our system is, and in what we think it can become. We are all united by a shared purpose to improve the lives of students and thus improve the state of our state. However, there is still so much to do. The steps of any journey tend to be the hardest. To end my report, I'd like to tell a story from the book by Sean Covey called 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens that I read as a 13-year-old hopeful entrepreneurship mogul. And in this book, there's a passage about a woman at the airport. She has a chunk of time before her flight, so she buys a bag of cookies, sits down at a table, and starts reading a newspaper. As she's reading, a gentleman takes a seat at her table, and in the corner of her eye, she can see that he's reaching over to help himself to her bag of cookies. He smiles at her and pops one into his mouth. Annoyed that he's eating her bag of cookies without asking, she nonchalantly moves the bag of cookies to be closer to her in order to discourage him. She grabs one, eats it, and once again, the man still goes to grab one as well, smiles, and pops it into his mouth. After several minutes of him and her both eating the cookies, the woman's frustration grows. Then the bag rattles with one cookie left. The man smiles and offers her the last one. And of course she'll take it, the nerve of him to offer her a cookie that was hers to begin with. Soon he leaves, and so does she to go catch her flight, and as she looks into her purse, she sees a full bag of unopened cookies. It turns out that she had been eating his cookies the whole time. We all watch a version of this happen in this very room every time this board meets, on all of our campuses, even at our own CSSA board meetings. So often fighting over how many cookies we all get or whose cookies they are in the first place, that we seem to forget something so important, that there will always be a finite amount of cookies, sometimes more and sometimes less. And in order to share what we have, we need to fight less and communicate honestly about what we have more. Our system still faces large challenges. We have not yet eliminated the achievement gap. We still have too many students struggling to feed and house themselves day to day. We lack the critical support services our students need to truly engage and connect to their campus community. To address these issues, we need more collaboration and not less. We need to trust the expertise and input of all stakeholders. We will need to truly give one another the benefit of the doubt, and occasionally, we will need to put our collective goals ahead of individual needs in order for enough cookies to go around. Thank you, Chair Day.
Thank you, Mia. Great story. And thank you and your colleagues for putting together the policy agenda. Look forward to meeting with your board when convenient.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to move to the report of the CSU Alumni Council. Dia Poole.
Thank you, Chair Day, and good morning to everyone. I'm here representing Alumni Council President Manolo Morales, who was able to be with us yesterday for the Trustees Awards, but could not attend today. I'd also like to welcome and thank Board Chair and Alumni Trustee Emeritus Bob Linscheid for also joining us here today at the alumni bench. So thank you, Bob. Welcome back.
Thanks.
In August, Chico State hosted the Alumni Council for its fall meeting. Thank you, President Hutchison, to you and your staff. We had a wonderful time there. A special thanks to Sue Anderson, the AVP of Alumni and Parent Relations, who hosted us just before her retirement after 20 years of service to the campus. So congratulations to Sue. Our meeting focused on best practices related to Alumni Association board development. As you know, having quality board members is critical to the success of organizations, and Alumni Council and Alumni Associations are no exception. These sessions helped our campus alumni associations think through best practices in recruiting diverse board members, utilizing them effectively, and stewarding them into leadership positions. Our sessions were facilitated by Linda Jacobs, CEO of the Center for Volunteer and Nonprofit Leadership in the Bay Area. Linda is a past president of the California Association of Nonprofits and was a wonderful expert to have with us. With the fall meeting behind us, watch out, President Vergey, because we are coming to Fullerton in the spring. We're coming to take over down there. All right. Alumni Council President Morales also participated in the wonderful CS Unity Conference hosted by the California State Student Association that you just heard about. That was in August. He shared that spending time at the roundtable discussions with students was a true highlight, and he remarked on how heavily key CSU leadership invested in being there to mentor student leaders. The Alumni Council also hosted one of the panels focusing on how students can become involved alumni leaders. There was such an interactive and enthusiastic group of student participants. Among them was Nia Johnson, the ASI president at Cal State LA, who had just been elected to serve as CSSA's liaison to the Alumni Council. Nia also joined us for our fall meeting at CSU Chico and gave a very dynamic and informative report on CSSA goals and priorities. We're excited about their efforts and look forward to our ongoing partnership with CSSA and with Nia. After the July Board of Trustees meeting, the Alumni Council Executive Committee met here to review and update the Council's strategic plan. We had a very productive session, working to further align the Council work with the priorities of the university. Work on our plan is ongoing, and I know we look forward to sharing more with you on this when the plan is complete. Thank you again, Chair Day. It's good to be back, and this concludes my report.
Thank you, Dia. That concludes the reports that we have. It's now time for the board to consider the items on today's consent agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve those items listed on the consent agenda? I have a motion. Can I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Board will now adjourn into closed session to discuss executive personnel matters. The board will then reconvene for our fall retreat on October 16, 2018. Notice of the meeting will go out in the ordinary course 10 days in advance of that meeting. Thank you.